I'm Gary Lyon and welcome to Access All Areas. We had an early taste of September with what many felt was an elimination final yesterday between Melbourne and the Saints. And as I welcome Damien Barrett and Matthew Lloyd, it's the D's boys who are still alive and St Kilda's destiny now out of its hands.
Yeah, it's all over for mine for the Saints. Poor percentage has hurt them. Another disappointing year. Obviously last year was full of praise. They finished a creditable ninth, won their last 4 games, but they're going to miss this year, Damo.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Melbourne's lesser lights that really stood strong yesterday.
Yeah, they've just bounced back every time, haven't they? They had to deal with the Jesse Hogan situation on multiple levels. Max Gawn going down early on, Gaz, and the undisciplined acts of key players. And yet Simon Goodwin's just been able to get them up at times when they've just had to stand up, and that happened again yesterday.
I thought he coached really well yesterday, right from Thursday night when the Watt's omission raised plenty of eyebrows, but put faith in Pedersen, and he played his best game of AFL footy, Pedersen, probably nearly best on ground. Started McDonald back when I think most anticipated he would be forward. Difficult matchup for Carlisle and Brown, and I think the space and the quick movement and the smaller forward line worked really well for him.
Yeah, and Brayshaw off half-back, he's taken Salem's spot, you would have thought now. I just thought his decision-making, poise, class, was great to see him back as well.
And when we all barrack for sides and you get new recruits in from other clubs, you know, you wonder whether they're as invested. There's a moment yesterday, not that there was any ever doubt about Hibberd and Lewis, but the game was in the balance. Hibberd here, going back with a fly, just body on the line. I reckon memory would have marked that. Look at the scoreline, look at the time. And then Lewis, who just, didn't hesitate. So, as I said, not that any doubt was about these two boys, but they just became Melbourne, everyone in Melbourne colours threw their arms around them and said, look how invested they are. And I thought it was a great sign, and Lewis had spoken about how big this game was for Melbourne on about 3 or 4 different media platforms in the lead up, and he backed up big time. And
you mentioned Brayshaw, Lord, early on, playing his comeback game in a helmet, having had a lot of concussion issues, and this happened in the first quarter, as you can see, and I reckon it was just a collective gasp, wasn't there? And there was for the man who got hit on the other end of it, Stevens, who ended up not taking any further part. But
I thought that was the end of his career.
Did you really? Yeah. Well, the fact he could get through it and then almost used it to say, well, hang on, I've absorbed that, and then to have the impact on the game that he had, it could well be, without being overly dramatic about it, it could well be the turning point that he absolutely needed.
I know that's dramatic, but I thought, one more knock of the magnitude that he's had could have been the end of his footy career. And for that split second, I thought he wasn't going to get up, and he did, and best game, probably.
Yeah, and you think feel for his parents. I heard him say his mum, Deb, was probably in tears in the grandstand, but for him to come through that, 26 disposals, I thought he was brilliant.
You touched on the Saints, Slaughter. I feel they've been too comfortable for what it's worth throughout the year when the crunch time has come. We saw what they did against Richmond in round 16, but look, this is them coughing the ball up for the reasons, Lordo and Gaz, that they didn't need to. Some of these plays you're seeing here from Ross and that was Dustin.
Have a look at these in isolation. They're as bad a torching of the footy as you've seen in 2017.
Could you say they choked on the big stage? It's like a final, Damo, this was.
Well, I reckon they have, Lordo, and I don't reckon it's the first time they've done it this year. Every time they're expected to take the stance and I suppose the stride that Melbourne ultimately took away from them yesterday, they've failed. And look, 10-10 after 20 games, and as you've just ruled them out from a finals perspective, it's now out of their control. But it's almost as if they went into the year thinking, well, it's going to be okay if we get 11, 12, maybe 13 wins, without trying to get the 14 to get them in, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not... One of the easiest things to fall back on is you go, they might win the next 2, bravely just miss out, doesn't look good for next year.
And they did that last year, didn't they? They finished strongly, and I reckon a year on, we don't actually know if they're going to actually be any good when it comes to the absolute pointy end.
And in the end, I mean, they're torching the footy. Melbourne arguably should have been more in ahead at quarter time. Hey, let's go down to Simmons Stadium. I thought Richmond were almost good things, and I know you can't say that too often when Geelong play at home, but with the experience out, they stand up yet again in a crunch game and just take your hat off to them.
Yeah, I thought their intent was just magnificent. I just thought you could see it. Richmond kicked the first 2 goals. They turned the heat up on Richmond, kicked the last 3 of the first quarter.
Why does it vary? I mean, the week before we watched them down there and there was none of it.
And that's one of the reasons why I have them off the top rung in terms of a team that can win the premiership.
And the intent with which you refer, Lord, I would actually was sparked by someone who's not known for it. So Stephen Motlop, 2 goals down, and then a couple of really aggressive acts in the first quarter that turned it around. But just the skill, we've seen it before. We've seen it so many times before. We see it regularly when he's out of contract, as he currently is, but it hasn't been seen all that often in the past 18 months.
No, just this. He had the most metres gained of any player on the ground, more than Dangerfield, and I just think, you're right, Dave, it's happened. We'll pump him up this week, but you want to see him do it again next week. That can't be a one-off. But people at Geelong say he's working hard.
Okay.
That hasn't been the case in previous years, so it's good to see him get some reward for that, if that's what he's actually doing. And he was a real barometer for them on the weekend, the best 3 players on the ground.
Yeah, and I would have thought there's a chip on the shoulder there, apparently. That's what that was all about. I would have thought he was an absolute Monty to be traded. And I didn't... Hearing that from Lloydie, telling us that he's working hard is a great sign. If he's getting rewards, then maybe you look at it. But you also shouldn't be swayed on the back of one game.
One game, yeah. Guys, Lloyd, what did you make of the tactics employed by Chris Scott and obviously Harry Taylor on Alex Rance? We've seen this happen a couple of times this year where Jackson Trengove of Port isolated Rance, Nick Revold did it to a point. Is this the way to bring down Richmond?
Yeah, I mean, we can overanalyse. I mean, the bits that we just saw then was a hit-up lead from a forward that no fullback's going to be able to hurt. And then Harry had great moments as a contested marking player, which he's always been able to do. You've got to engage Alex Rance. That's the bottom line. What you're seeing here is that Harry started in such good nick that in the end Alex had to go to him, and that's what we're talking about. If Alex can only defend one player, that's a win for the opposition.
The biggest mistake, Damo, defensive forwards make is they worry about the man, they don't go for the ball. Right. What Harry Taylor did was said, give it to me, and he actually spooked Alex Rance. He was so nervous in the end that he stopped laying off, and Harry Taylor was best man on the ground.
Tom Hawkins' unavailability for that game, what did that mean for the game?
Oh, I think it was perfect because he's got no mobility, really, Tom Hawkins. Taylor worked him over, moved around a lot more, and obviously Asprey didn't have an effect on the ground, as did many of the Richmond players.
Well, you wonder why players get big money. Well, the reason you pay Cochin, Martin, Revolt and Rance big money is because when they play well, they win inevitably. And they were all probably off their best. And that's credit to Geelong, take nothing away. Free kick out, not sure, rubber the green, all that sort of stuff. Home ground, does it have an impact? Damien Hardwood seems to think so.
Do you think it's the biggest... I mean, you talk about the Adelaide Oval, but do you think this is as big an advantage to...
Oh, absolutely. You know, the home crowd gets behind them. Have a look at the free kick count.
Were you concerned about the free kick count? At one stage it was...
listen,
26 or something.
It is what it is. What I will say is you've got a significant home ground advantage. I understand what Chris is saying. I'd be playing as many home games here as I can. It is tough to play.
When you said about the free kick count, do you say that the crowd sometimes...
Oh, absolutely.
Plays a role in free kicks?
Absolutely. Our Tiger fans are the same when we get back home. So it's the lie of the land.
The free kick count he refers to there, Lordo, was 20-7 at half-time, became 28-17 at full-time. Look, he's got every right to raise that in the context with which he did, and I thought he did it pretty cleverly, but I wouldn't have gone there if I'm Damien Hardwood.
Yeah, he's a pretty honest man, though, Damo. We whack people for being cliched, and I agreed with Damien in the sense that whether it's deliberate out of bounds, the noise, whether it's a holding the ball, I think you do get the rub of the green as a home side, and I thought they got that early on, but it didn't cost them the game. The better side won.
I take it from Lordo. Anyone involved in the game of footy, don't listen to them. The coach of either side, opposition fans, don't listen to them. Listen to the independent. I'll take Lordo's word on that. Hey, big incident Friday night. Toby Greene again at the forefront of this controversy. Just coming back from suspension. I thought his form was unbelievably impressive. What happens here, Damo? Well, this is the great unknown.
We talk about it regularly. The AFL often uses the term the optics. The optics on this are not good the way I look at it, Gaz. This is a man who's chosen to make contact with the studs up on the face of an opponent.
I don't think he's chosen to make... I think he's chosen to grab the footy.
Well, he's chosen to grab the footy. The studs up have got him in the head, and that's part of the optics.
Sure. The priority, though, was not to make contact to his face. The ball was the object.
Yeah, but I'm sure the priority wasn't for Paddy Dangerfield to knock out Matty Cruiser or Grundy last week on Brown to knock him out either and have him go to hospital.
He won't go on
the optics on that, you can't have a concussed players. The optics on this, I can't have a player having his studs up, just taking a handball receive without there being. Fine. What I reckon they'll do, the other thing the AFL likes, Gaz, is wiggle room. There's wiggle room on this to make this a lower-end misconduct charge, and that's what I reckon will happen. What I think should happen would be 1 week suspension. What I think will happen will be a lower-end misconduct charge, and as such, he can be dealt with by a fine. And I reckon that there should be an accompanying statement, hey, that's it. We're going to have one example only, and then from here on in, that's going to be a suspension.
I agree with you on the statement. I think, there's these grey areas that swirl around until such time as we see them. I don't like it either, but I've seen enough of it over time without having any definitive rule made. I can live with 1 week. I think he'll get $1,500. But I would love the AFL to say, hey, stops up now are going to be defined in this manner.
And also, too, this witch hunt that people are saying, look, we're all adults. We can watch that incident and just have it as player A and player B. Forget it's Toby Greene. To me, it's just a look that the AFL cannot tolerate. And I know it's not happening regularly, but let's make sure it doesn't happen again without there being a serious sanction.
100% agree. Extremely dangerous. Don't want to see it again, but Toby Greene just gets a fine for that.
I wouldn't find this peanut that threw the cup of whatever after the game at Toby Greene, that person, and I don't know how you obviously Alan McConnell saw it. Don't know how you identify that person. I don't know what it is, but that's just a year off.
Yeah. So have they found? Do they know who it is, Damo?
Oh, look, they're still, as far as I know, Lordo, going through the footage of it, and you'd think they'd find that person. They normally do when things like that happen. They do, and I think a year at least as well.
Dogs, just quickly, where are they?
I just feel, Gary, that they've got really no area of strength at the moment. Their key defenders, Lewis Young, was just monstered by Patton early on. Their forward line, Cloak, Stringer, have just got no confidence within them. Apart from Bontempelli, McRae and Hunter, I think the midfield's dropped off. So they've been smashed by Adelaide and also the GWS Giants. Their last two bad losses. They've beaten up on 4 teams, the 10th, 15th, 17th and 18th in the last 4 weeks. Yeah. So they deserve where they are, and that's out of the 8. I don't think they deserve to make it.
And players, including Liberatore, who have got to have a real big decision to make at some stage. Where is footy fit for them in terms of their priorities in life?
Because he's been dropped once before, Goes, this year. Do you think he'll be dropped a second time before it's out?
Of course, Luke Beveridge will look at that, and he won't have any fear about dropping him again. And on the form that I saw on Friday night, I never know he's out there. That's how inconsequential he was. So he's got a decision to make. Swans are the most ominous behind the Crows. They're just looming. They absolutely had a training run against Fremantle, and all the good players are playing well. They play Friday night.
I can't wait for this one. We've got 3 teams, the Giants, the Swans and the Crows, who go into this final series in red-hot form. And I'm going to favour the Crows in this one because they're both very good defensively, but the Crows have kicked 400 more points for the year. So I think they're the most destructive team in attack. But it's going to be a cracker. Could be the grand final preview. Wouldn't surprise me if we see this again in 6 weeks.
Is it down to 3, you're saying that?
Yeah, it's down to 3 for me,
I think there's a sneaky wild card somewhere. It
could be Port Adelaide if you look at what they've got left by way of getting into a double chance if Richmond drops one.
Port Adelaide.
They could still get a double chance if Richmond drops one and they win 2.
They would get hammered again by the Crows, I would have thought.
They're not my sneaky wild card.
Who are they,
Melbourne, you're saying.
Anyone that can get on that 3-4 game roll that hits final series could be that person, that side. Eddie Betts left Carlton, and now all Carlton people sit back and rue it. Are they trying to push out another one? Is Levi Casbolt, can he be the player who would then turn around and embarrass them again?
No, he's not. He's not.
No, he's not at Eddie Betts.
And I know we didn't think of that of Eddie Betts when he first left Adelaide. There's no doubt about that. But Levi Casbolt's got an offer in front of him. It's roughly the offer that he's been on in recent times. He doesn't want it. He's rejected it. And the club has said, well, there's no more money coming your way, so it's up to you to sort it out. And I reckon that's smart play from the Blues. I wouldn't be giving him much more than
any other clubs, though, Damo?
Yeah, there'll be interest. I mean, when someone like that is, but not on the massive money that I think he wants. And I'd be staggered if it's much more than what Carlton does offer, which is about $400,000, and that's inclusive of KPIs.
Incumbent upon the manager then to understand where he fits in the market and market price and value. I'm sure they're working at it. Dean Solomon made his coaching debut. It's imposing and it's daunting, particularly when you don't get in the right seat.
That's where Rodney Eade always sits. So he thought, I'll just go where the old senior coach used to sit. And the IT man said, no, that's my seat.
I just might get in the trouble here, but it's off the rundown. He's only got 2 more games, is it? Can he make this work for him in the short term or not?
He's been told, and I take Mark Evans at his word, it's not an audition, it's to gain experience, but I don't feel he's going to be the replacement for Rodney Eade, given he's been there for as long as he is.
I mean, can he enhance his reputation or only do damage to it?
I think he can come out as neutral. But again, it depends what happens up the next 2 weeks. First half was good, wasn't it? But the second half wasn't, but that's not his fault.
I hope he gets a crack at it. Time for our lift hard-hitting moments. I'm ahead by 1 over Damo. Lloyd is trailing at the moment. I'm not unhappy with my man Robinson, apart from the fact that it's 8 metres away from where the actual football was. Have a look at this. I'm not sure it's a winner, but it might be the dumbest one we've seen for a long time.
Well, from that, Gaz, do you like what we're producing here with McGovern on Matty D? You've got to wait for it here. He comes in hard and high, knee to the head, Gaz.
Yeah. Get going. Sell it again, though.
Well, it's in the head. He does get up.
He jumps straight
It's probably not my best, but it's still a hard-hitting moment, Gaz.
I'm still in it.
All right, I'm going to sell this one hard. I've come in early this morning. I've put a package of 3 together.
Well,
right. I've gone three young men at Geelong who want to make a statement for their team. Hey, that's Set Motlop.
He's not young.
Up for the day. 3 men we're not used to. Parfitt on Dustin Martin. Dustin Martin wasn't himself after that. Murdoch. Have you ever seen Jordan Murdoch do that before? No. Made a statement, and that's why they played on the ground.
I've gone 2 ahead with another nice solid win. Hey, thank you, gentlemen. Very nice. Thanks for joining us on Access All Areas. Have a good week. We'll catch you next Monday. Goodbye.